Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Book to Block, the series where I bring my fantasy novel to life in Minecraft, one block at a time. In today's episode, we're going to go over onto this side of the town, and I'm going to work on the housing district. So all this area here, along the path either side, I'll be building up houses. I'm going to do that in a time lapse, and then afterwards we can go in and decorate the interiors together. So let's get to first doing that time lapse. And here we are. So let's get a good look at it overall in the top view. So you can kind of see some of them are a little bit more advanced than others. You can see these two are kind of the very first ones I made because how basic they are. I might end up replacing them later on if I feel like they need to be a bit more advanced. But I kind of played around with different techniques of sloping roofs, having that kind of curve in it, having the different types of windows popping out of each one, and then just playing around with different shapes. I made these all in just like a flat world and then brought them into their positions so they kind of fit as good as they could. I kind of have like smaller ones over here, and then I've got this big one. This is the one I spent the most time on. It's very complex, lots of different intricate builds. You can see how it kind of evolved, as I said. This one's got multiple floors, but the first thing that I had to do for the interiors was work out how to get from the different floors. So for some of them, I have just a nice little staircase in the corner, spiral, and others, kind of like this one over here. It's a little too thin for any staircase, so I just used a ladder for this one. But most of them just have staircases. Another thing I went in and did is I kind of marked off what each room would be. So like this area, bottom floor is going to be kitchen. I got a little study lounge area, and then the top floor is going to be a bedroom. So I kind of just went through each build, labeled each area of what it's going to be. So let's hop over to the big one, and I'll show you this one as well. So I kind of got, you enter in, you got a little study lounge, have the kitchen in the back here. Then this is the staircase, so I might add some more supports on this. But then this brings it up. We have another study lounge kind of area over here, and then up into a bedroom. So I'll probably like add partitions like walls in certain areas, and then we can go on to doing the smaller details, and then finally finish off with maybe some of those entities to add in a little bit more fine detail after all. Alright, before we get to the interiors that I worked on, I want to show just a quick demo of how I kind of design these different builds. So the first thing I usually do is I set out the shape using logs. For this one I'm using spruce logs. So you can kind of just pick out your shape. You usually start with like a square, make sure it's on the right points. Maybe add in a little bit more. So you want to add that, so I have 4 there, so that works out well. And then I'll just add to here. So this is quite a small one. The next thing I usually do is I go in by 1 block, and I place using just like the interior wall block. So for this I'm using the spruce planks. So for this I'm going to just add the walls like this, just interior to so that the logs kind of stick out a little bit like this. Next thing is I try and choose the entrance. So for this one, I'm going to choose over here. I'm going to have it at 2 wide because it's an even amount in between these two. And then I try and raise everything up. A nice way of doing that quickly is using either the smear or stack. I'm going to just use stack for this one. Everything's area is selected, and I just scroll up. And now we got the start of this. I'm going to go over here and add this in so I have room for my doors. Then you kind of want to choose how tall your first level you want it to be. For this one, I'm going to have it 4 tall, so I'm going to increase by 1 more. And then I'm going to set the braces, so the walls that go the sideways like this. So then I go in, and I add all the logs around the sides, connecting in between. After that, you want to think about how you want to do your second floor. So you can either have it come out by 1, or just continue going up. So I've got the first floor here. So if you want to go up by one, you can come up like this, and then you'd have to use stairs to kind of support this like that. And you'd go around like this and kind of have it like that. For this one, I'm going to make it a nice basic one of just going straight up. So I want it to be a second layer, so I'm going to increase all my posts here. And then I want to choose but the second floor, so you can either continue with the same wall, or you can choose something else. I found that tough and these dark colors work really well together, so I'm going to go around for this one with the tough for the second floor. I'm then going to bring it up a further, so I'm going to use the expand. And then I'm going to do again like what I did earlier. So I'm going to grab one level up on everything, bring it up one, and set the next braces. So now you have your two floors. So the next thing you want to do is worry about your shape for your roof. So where you want it to be a triangle and where you want it just to slide up. So for this one, I think I'm going to have it a triangle here. So what I do is I pick 2 points on the edge like this. Since it's a 2 in the center, I'm going to bring these up however high I want them. Remove these. And then I take a step back to look at the shape. So kind of the taller the building, you want a decently sized roof. So I think this is decent. It's a little bit taller than each of the floors. So then what I do is I grab the smear tool. I select this one here, and I connect it to these ones. So bring that down. And then I do the same for the other side. And then I go in with the stairs. So I just add these on here, on top of everything. And then I might go in and remove these ones, just so it's a slightly thinner edge on it. So that's the first side of the roof. I then go in with my secondary, which is going to be the spruce on this one. I make a line here, fill in with all the blocks. And then I want to see how you're going to connect your two shapes. If it's just a rectangle, you can just go from here to the end. I think I'm going to do that for this one and then connect it for this one. So what I do is I grab these and then middle mouse here. And then I'm going to drag all the way over. To grab this side again, I'm going to clone this. Just makes it slightly quicker than having to rebuild it. Drag it over on this side. And then you've got this area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do similar to this, but on this side, and then just connect it straight in. So the first thing I'm going to do is go in again with these. Find the center, so 4 on each side. Then bring it up. I think I'm going to go a little bit taller for this one since it's a wider area. Move these points. Smear these up. And there's the second one, so let's get the stairs. So there's the second one. I'm going to do the same with the spruce again. Now we stack in, or what we can do is use smear. There's a nice little thing about smearing. So no matter how far you drag it, it'll stop the second it hits something. So I want to bring it to about there. I don't want to drag it over. You can experiment with kind of doing it different angles like this, but since this one is just a kind of L shape, we want to keep it straight. Place that in there. I'm now going to go around and finish these off. I tend to use the kind of accent at the bottom for the whole thing. So I'm going to grab this, drag this along, place these ones, do the same here. And then you want to connect up here. So since this one's a full block, I'm going to grab there. It smooths into here, remove that so this connects. Do the same for the other side. Everything's looking good here. And then you have to figure out how you're gonna kind of smooth this in. So for this one, I'm going to add another up like this, and then like that. Just creates a nice smooth. Remove these so they connect properly. And that's the shape for this. It's a little bit of an odd one, since I just kind of randomly chose a shape, didn't really put much thought into it. Final thing I like to do is I like to use, again, this accent for just the top layer. So I'm going to go along placing these blocks. And then for the center one here, so stair, and then like that. If I don't like that, I'll include these ones as well, just to make it all smooth. And that's kind of how I get the general shape. After this, it's just the basic. You want to add your flooring, so grab it like this, go like that, add in your doors. Think about what windows you want. So the way I usually do it is I come inside, get it nice and bright. I choose where I kind of want to place things. So where you want your staircase. So if you want your staircase on this wall, maybe you don't want a window all the way across, maybe just a small one on this side, so that you can have your staircase going up like this and have the window underneath. Because you don't want a window like right here because your stairs are going to be blocking it. You then go up to where your second floor starts. So I tend to put it on where I put these logs. I then add in my second floor, worry about the second floor windows, and then since you have such a tall roof, you can kind of put maybe a third floor / attic, either here or over here. You can kind of connect these up so that's a slightly larger area to work with. So then that's a 3-story kind of house. You're going to want to work with how tall you want your floors to be, if you want it just to be nice and compact for practical, or if you want it to be kind of realistic where your person isn't touching the ceiling as they stand. And then you kind of want to just go fill in little bits. You can fill in these here, however you want. And then finally add sort of details. So for what I'm using for the builds I did today, I use these to kind of curve these areas over. So the spruce and dark oak kind of fit together well. So you can add these just to make it smoother, maybe use some slabs for extra. And then you can add details like little supports on the bottom like this. Switch it up between your different color palettes just so you have the different colors that work together. Adding your windows, you can do either a fence or maybe some glass. For this build, I used these black ones. Either that or using fences, depending on what your style for the build is. Let's go back into the shaders. Get a look at this one. So this is a little interesting shape. You can play around with your different connecting of your roofs. I think the roof is probably the biggest part of these types of builds because you want to have these interesting shapes, play around with how they connect, make them a little unique for each one you do. Never try and keep them all the same unless you're going for like a uniform basic street. You want to give character to each of your builds so then you can maybe build a story for each one. So now that we kind of have an idea of how I built each of them, let's go on into the interiors. Alright, so I've come back here and made a little bit more details on it. At the time of building this originally, I had just finished building the other 6 or so I was a little tired of building houses, but I've come back and kind of decorated a little bit, added in windows. One thing you want to remember is not to add too many windows. You want to have some flat spaces, so when you're building the interiors, you can build up against this wall, because you don't want to build over your windows. So this would be good for like if you had maybe some shelving here. If there was a window here, you wouldn't be able to do that. So you always got to either build a lot of windows and then remove them as you need space for something on the wall, or just think about your windows after you build your build. So I got this big front, so I did a nice big window. It's left unfurnished for now, just so that I could focus on other things, this one's not going to be built or used. I might bring it in later if I need to fill in a gap somewhere. But I think this works just as a little demo so you guys can a little bit understand how I went through the process of building these different houses. Alright, so now back over here, I've come in, I've done a little bit of the bone mealing around the edges just to give it a little bit more life and texture so it's not just a flat land kind of like this over here. I've gone in and added all the interiors. Gotta move these signs. But if I come in here, I find it works best at night. So we can see the kind of lighting. So we don't want that one. So I'm just going to do a little tour of the different areas, just a walkthrough so you can kind of get an idea. I've done a lot of these very similar things where I've got a bed, some storage, and a little desk. That's kind of for each bedroom's the same, just different orientations. I think all of the buildings have a kitchen, so I use smoker, a little bit of storage up top, little area for water, might put some entities in here for like food and such. Nice little table. This one's a little smaller because the building itself is smaller. But most of them are very similar. So I'm going to go over to the largest one and kind of show off this because it's all of them, but just in a larger one. This one's kind of unique because it actually has a basement. So it's kind of a storage, so a little candle storage. This might be the candle maker of the town. Some barrel storage, some chest storage. When I pasted this in, it didn't remove the torches. That's why it's like that. So it's slightly dark in here, but you don't want it to be too bright. Then if we come back up here, we've got the staircase to the front door. We come in here, kind of the living room, got these lighting around, little sunken floor. Nice little carpet walk in, little table, and then into the kitchen. Look like this didn't paste right. So we're into the kitchen, kind of like a little hanging thing, might be able to hang some entities off of that. Bit of storage. A lot of these weird glitches I'm finding as I walk through here. A little bit of a storage, maybe like bookshelf of some sort. Main table. And then we come on up here. We got the little seating area for just chilling with a little bit more storage, The first bedroom with a nice little closet here. Got a little workstation, bed. I like using these empty bookshelves, the chiseled ones, kind of just as empty shelving units that don't have to be used for books, but can just be used for anything. And we come into here, kind of like a dorm style if like they've got 3 children. So it's all very similar. Maybe they got triplets and they keep it very similar for all 3. Little workstation for each of them, their little beds. And that's the big building done. We come on back outside here, kind of get a look. I got a large balcony, so maybe I could add in a little table here so you can sit and enjoy the view. That's a very picturesque, lovely with the shaders, kind of got the reflection on the water face. And maybe we'll just go through another one. So let's head to this one here. So we got another kitchen, like I said, very similar. Kitchen table, just like these little benches every so often, just so I can put stuff on if I find stuff. Again, it looks like it didn't paste in right. But if I come over here, kind of like another workstation, more shelving. Got a little balcony. Walk over onto the waterfront here. Then if we head back upstairs again, another one. Instead of a bedroom, I kind of just had it as like a sitting area. Because this one has another floor. Looks like it pasted over here, just a little storage nook here. Then we head back up here. So instead of a study lounge, I changed this one into the bedroom. A little bit of using the candle here for lighting. Nice little seat. Kind of look out into here. Maybe spy on your neighbors. And then another balcony off the bedroom. Again, to look over onto the waterfront. You can kind of get out here, get a little better view of the other ones that maybe you didn't see in the time lapse, kind of around the backs of it. Each one kind of has a back door that kind of goes out, maybe into things that are going to be back here. For the waterfront ones, they can come down to the waterfront if they wanted that. Let's replace that. But these are kind of the living situations of this little village. I do plan on having some trees maybe scattered around. I'll include some more bone meal here. But I think I'm going to leave it open for another episode. So instead of doing trees like over here, my spruce trees, I'll do like an oak tree for when I do this forest. and maybe just scatter a couple around the village just to add a little bit more life. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in a different episode, but I've changed up the roofing here for the smokehouse and the storage. I really liked the kind of the messy look that the dark oak had, but it felt just too run down. This village turned out to be a little bit more advanced, I guess you could say, instead of a thatch hut that I was planning on. And then when building all these different houses, I really came to enjoy the kind of look that the spruce and the tuff have, so I switched these back over to kind of match the theme of the village for both the smokehouse and for the storage here. I'm not sure if I mentioned this either, but I changed this roof here for the watchtower. At first it was just the spruce kind of strip wood, but it kind of just looked really too smooth and not enough detail. So I switched over to these dark oak with the stone brick and then the tough brick. It just really brings it together a lot nicer, kind of with the fencing here. And it just makes it look a lot sharper and more advanced than it did before. But with that, I think that's enough for today's episode. I've gotten another huge chunk of the village done. There's still plenty of things to kind of do on the outskirts here, but that can be left for another episode. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please leave a like and subscribe for more videos coming soon. And until next time.